What is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. I'm Elliott Delp.
I'm Sparky.
And he's still here. And today we're going to be talking about the Brownell's BRN-180 Gen3. Now, if you'll remember, us as simple-minded people did a Gen 2 review a few months ago. And when that happened, this literally came out like the second week afterwards, and we were like, well, crap. So we decided to reach out to Brownell's. Before then, we didn't have any affiliation really whatsoever. And then we reached out and we were like, hey, look, we would really like to review one of these upper receivers. We saw that they just came out, and they were kind enough to send out an upper and a stripped lower. And here we are a few months later in front of you for the review. So there's that kind of disclaimer on what we have received from Brownell's. We just solely really want to review this and compare it to the Gen 2. So before we get anything else about the Gen 3 out of the way, we do need to give you some little housekeeping items. One thing, you need to check out Basement Operator.
Please.
BasementOperator.com. You know, you can find merch, stickers, link to Sparky's OnlyFans, all kinds of cool stuff over there. You can also find a link to all of our socials and most importantly, maybe Discord.
Yeah.
So you can go check us out on Discord. That's the best place to talk to us. But Instagram is still the best place to see beautiful pictures of Sparky and to see what kind of guns we're looking at, guns we're using and reviewing. And sometimes we post deals over there on the stories. So go check us both out on Instagram as well. So let's talk BRN-180 Gen 3. Let's go over kind of how we have this thing loaded out, and then we'll shoot it a little bit. What do you say, Sparky?
Oh, let's do it.
All right, so here on the mount, and all kinds of people ask about this. I think we just bought it off of Amazon.
Yeah.
So
get you one.
Get you one. So we have this thing loaded out. We have a Streamlight ProTac here with a, just a very simple pad. It comes all with the Streamlight.
The tape switch, everything ready.
Yeah, I mean, it's like $100. It's really easy, super simple and cheap. Streamlight makes a really good product. We have a die-free grip that also, like I'd mentioned previously, it came in a tack pack. The optic is a SIG. Then also the magnifier is a SIG as well. These are just SIG red dots. I'm not quite sure. This is the Romeo 5 XDR.
And the Juliet magnifier.
And the Juliet magnifier. We just picked them up on sale. So, I mean, those weren't sent or anything. That's just something we had laying around. And then we have a Midwest Industries stock here. We actually have this one here. Sparky, hold that. And then on our Gen 2, we have one as well. This one's the one with the cheek riser. Midwest Industries makes some pretty sweet folders. So when it comes to folding stocks like this, we kind of gravitate towards their stuff. We pick these up on our own dime. But, I mean, there's just something we enjoy.
Oh, yeah.
And we think they make a really, sturdy product. For the sling, it is an HRT tactical sling. Okay. So that's kind of how we have this thing set up. Sparky, you think we should do a little bit of shooting with it before we talk about the little nitty gritty specs, features, and all that great stuff?
Oh, yeah.
Let's get it. So before we dive into this, we got to give a big thank you to TrueShot for sending out the ammunition. They're a big supporter here on the channel. So we gotta give them a good shout. If you want to check out TrueShot, you should head on over to basementoperator.com/links. And there you can find them at the top. If you use code Delp, it'll save you a little bit of moolah when you check out. So big thank you to TrueShot, and we are also doing a little bit of shooting with TA targets. We've had these for quite some time now. We abused the absolute hell out of them, and they work really well, and they're super easy to put together. So big thank you to TA. Sparky, you want to be my beeper?
I thought you'd never ask.
All right, let's give her a go. I'm not going to wear the sling. Don't sue me. All right.
Shooter ready?
Shooter's ready.
Beep.
Smells good, don't it, Sparky? I mean, very good shooting piston AR. One of the things is just recoil's really nice on it. Of course, it's a 5.56, so I mean, you could.
Oh boy, we get to do a reload here.
Oh no, I ain't doing no reload. I didn't have any iPro. Make sure to wear iPro, kids. Recoil impulse is like next to nothing. And just in terms of fun, reliable, I mean, as you saw, it's a good shooter. We can't really attest a lot to the trigger and stuff that you would typically talk about when you shoot it. That's just because it is not a Brownell's trigger. Sparky, you want to give it a go?
Sure. Put your iPro back on.
I'll put my iPro on. Sparky, can I be your beeper?
Sure.
Shooter ready?
Mm-hmm.
Beep.
Oh man.
Woo! Is that it?
Got one in there.
Got one in there? Uh-oh. Got her.
I like it. I mean, it's just like, you know.
So what do you think of the charging handle on the opposite side?
You saw me just miss it. Cause
yeah.
I was looking for the, you know, because I was used to shooting, you know, Gen 2. But the only thing I will say that I noticed with it is you gotta watch your knuckles.
Yeah, so we have this thing mounted. These optics have these big ass screws here on the side of it. And if you can clip yourself.
Yeah, like if you're not paying attention, you're gonna rack, here, come here, Hunter. You're gonna rack your knuckles on that guy real easy. But if you had just like a cantilever, it's gonna be out of the way for like an LPVO. But with
or just normal optics mount red dot that you just Allen key in. But where these can be just quickly taken off, they are kind of really close to the charging handle. And you know, with it canted down like that, it does bring it further out of the way. And I guess, you know, when
it is nice for like once you get it on, because it's going to be a little bit, you know, it doesn't dig into you that bad.
No, and it doesn't catch on as much. So you can tell they put some thought into the design of the charging system, because, you know, they did cant it down. They did think about it a little bit, which is very important. Now we have to get other housekeeping items out of the way, like who keeps the lights on for us. You know, we have to talk about our supporters, and the biggest supporter of the channel is TacPack. TacPack is a monthly subscription service. I think the first tier is $60 and the second tier is $140. And basically what you get is every month you will receive a box in the mail. Full of some awesome stuff. Like this grip right here came from a TacPack. My knife that I run all the time, this is a SOG knife. It came from a TacPack. I mean, I've had some really good luck with TacPack and what they send out. Sometimes you'll get magazines. So if you go check them out, head on over to basementoperator.com, click the TacPack link, and then use code DELP when you check out, and you will get a free goodie bag. They have some pretty awesome stuff, and we're really big fans of them and really appreciate the support they give. We got to give another big thank you to another big supporter of the channel, Ballistic Armor Co. Ballistic Armor Co. provides Sparky his brain matter retention device. They're the helmets we've been using for quite some time now. They're coming out with some new arc rails here pretty soon, which I'm pretty excited to see. So big shout out to Ballistic Armor Co. If you want to check them out, head on over to basementoperator.com/links. And there you can find them at the top of the link tree. Use code DELP10, I believe. Hunter will pop it up if I'm wrong. It'll save you a little bit of moolah over on the brain matter retention device. Big thank you to Ballistic Armor Co. Let's talk a little bit about the specs of this upper and lower, because the lower is kind of part of it, as it is a BRN-180 specific lower. So I do want to brush over that just a little bit. So let's start with price point. This thing runs about $1,200 MSRP. I'm sure for the upper. I'm sure Brownells will have some sort of deal on it at some point.
They're already running deals on the Gen 2s, just out of curiosity.
Yeah.
In case you wanted to know.
Yeah, and the Gen 2s are actually, I think they're all sold out. I think.
Wouldn't surprise me. I saw them down like $600-ish.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, crazy deal.
Go check it out. You might be able to find these on sale. A lot of people have coupon codes. We do not have a coupon code, but I do know a lot of people do. So, you know, you might be able to get this under $1,200. But let's talk about what you do get for $1,200. So these are made by Primary Weapon Systems, I do believe, just like their Gen 2s were. So already starting out with a very high quality company in terms of the production. So let's start with the muzzle device. This is a Primary Weapon System muzzle device. This one is pin and welded to the barrel. We got a 13.9, and when looking at the options, it didn't say 13.9 pin and welded, it just said 13.9. So I planned on SBR in it. You had to go into the description where it said pin and weld 16. So shame on Elliott for not reading the description. So buyer beware. Anyway,
so it is a standard rifle.
This one is a standard rifle, but like I'd said, Primary Weapon Systems coming back to a 13.9 barrel. The barrel is a lightweight barrel contour. Then you get to the adjustable gas system. So this is a 3-position gas system, one for suppressed, unsuppressed, and then one to run it after Elliott has gotten done never cleaning it. In terms of the rail though, Sparky, tell me a little bit about the rail, what you like about it and some of the cool features, because they did do some upgrades to the rail.
They did do some upgrades to it. It is a little bit beefier. You have a much larger port up here to adjust your gas system, which is nice. The other one is cut out in the Gen 2 is cut out in the top.
Here, well, we got
just hold it up.
We got the Gen 2 right here.
Gen 2, the cutout you can see right here is in the very top. And this one's much larger to where you can get to it a little bit easier, which is nice. Still both, more or less toolless, but
This one's really simple because you can just click it with your fingers.
Yeah, exactly. Still got a whole lot of M-lock on the rail, which is nice. I like the QD points as you move farther back.
They're the
locking ones.
Yeah.
They're not like other companies where they put them in there and the whole thing just free spins. So it is nice, got them on both sides, and they're kind of put at an angle too, which is nice because when you put the QD on it, it kind of cants it a little bit forward to where it doesn't get hung on as much. If it was like on the flat right here,
it's sticking out
it'd
all the
stick
way.
out
Yeah.
and catch on everything. But being on this slanted portion, it kind of keeps it out of the way, which I like. And it has a real nice lock up to the upper itself.
And that's one of the different things about this that one versus this one is the cutout for the lockup. This one has some screws here where this one does not.
It just locks up and you got a lower set right here. Instead of having, more,
which is a more common standard way of doing it now.
And it looks a little bit cleaner, and it's supposed to be, a much tighter lockup for if you had like a laser or something like that. It's gonna
to hold zero.
Exactly. Yep. So it's gonna be a little bit beefier and hold up a little better.
Yeah. So let's move on back to the upper, because the upper is where you're going to start to see a lot of changes between it and the Gen 2. Sparky, you want to hold that while I bring up the Gen 2 for comparison?
Yep.
So one of the big complaints we and a lot of other people actually had with the Gen 2 was the fact that the charging handle was reciprocating and it left the system open essentially if you did not have the dust cover closed. So Brownells took it upon themselves to remedy this, and what their solution was is they moved the charging handle to this side, and then they provided a sort of gasket system to keep it a more closed kind of.
And it's non-reciprocating.
And it's non-reciprocating, which is really nice. Now, the only thing that we cannot attest to is very, very long-term use of how well this
gasket's going to hold up.
This gasket's going to hold up.
Because my prediction is going to be, this might not be a problem for you, but for people that do clean their firearms regularly, how, is this gasket going to hold up to chemicals and oil being on at all times? Plus just the wear of the, if you, which being non-reciprocating,
not going to be used a ton.
But when you do charge the firearm, it's going to move on it. So it's like, okay, how bad is this going to look after a couple thousand rounds?
Or years.
Years, yeah. So if you left the oil on it and put it in the safe, what's it going to look like?
Yeah, what's the ultimate?
Because I don't know, my OCD is going to kick in and be like, oh, that thing just,
If it flops over, it's going to bother you.
It normally does.
Yeah.
So
now, with that being said, they did solve the problem of having an open reciprocating charging handle. Like we had kind of mentioned, they did take some initiative in terms of the design and think about what if you have extended stuff. So they did cant it down, which I think is a very, very great feature.
So if you had like a cantilever like on my Gen 2 optic mount, it's going to be out of the way. Like especially if LPVO, it's out of the way for that.
Yeah.
But with these larger nuts on here, it is kind of in the way.
Yeah.
Problems having big nuts, I guess.
Yeah. Flip it over, Sparky. This is plastic, which is a little odd, I thought. But other than that, the
deflector is plastic.
Yeah, it's kind of weird, isn't it?
It's kind of strange. You'd think it wouldn't be, but I guess.
Other than that, it's pretty standard and normal.
One thing they did add, which I really liked, which if you've messed around with Gen 2s very often, you go take it apart, you're going to experience when you take the upper off the lower.
The boing.
Yeah, don't you hate it? Like the guide rod just pops out and goes flying. But this one now has a retention system made into it to where when you take this apart, it's not going to go flying across the room, which is nice.
Or you
eat it in the face one time.
Yeah.
Like I was messing with it like a week ago, and I just took it apart like a normal lower and popped the thing open. The thing just it caught the back of the lower enough to where I didn't take it right in the face, which I'm not one of those guys. So it was, nice that they added that. Sparky,
we didn't really talk about, accuracy. With the accuracy out of this thing, you're getting a very standard accuracy out of your AR. We were able to hit the 100-yard gong. We did not group it officially, but in terms of we zeroed it at 50 yards and we were able to, hit 200-yard steel with it. And I mean, usually that's good enough for me. The lower receiver now is the next thing that we should talk about. When these came out, they released a new lower to accompany them. This lower is that lower. What we did was we took PSA Sabre parts. So big shout out to PSA for that. They sent all that out, and we slapped it onto this lower receiver that came with a B5 grip and, you know, just normal Sabre parts. The lower came with itself the mag release and the ambi bolt release, not bolt catch. The ambi, it doesn't work that way. It won't catch.
It's strictly to depress the magazine.
Yeah, but it will release.
Yeah.
But the rest of it is, like I had mentioned, Sabre parts, and then the Midwest Industries.
And on the lower, obviously you can see it's one piece. It's made into, like, your trigger guard's made in one piece, and it's a flared magazine well, which is nice. Also, the pins for this are screw-in.
Oh yeah, that's so nice.
Which is nice. Like when you're fighting to put the pin in for your bolt release, it's you get it in there, line up, and then take, like, was it a 0.05 Allen key and thread it in there. So that's not going to come out on you. Same way with the ambi, the mag release. So, and I think the ambi controls on this are pretty nice. Like, it's not
well thought out.
It's well thought out, and it's not bulky. You get some companies that make them, and they're just it's a secondary thought. This seems really well thought out and
intentional.
It's intentional. And I don't know if you mentioned it, but it's a billet 7075 T6 aluminum lower, which you would expect.
High quality
for quality for $299.
Yeah, it is a very expensive
it's
lower.
on the more expensive side, and also it's, you know, this is, you cannot use this lower on your standard AR-15 because you get the 1913 pick piece on the back.
Yeah.
So if you try to put it in regular AR-15, it ain't gonna work.
But I do like this. So when we originally ran the Gen 2, we had ran it with a normal AR-15 lower with an adapter.
Which added a little bit of length.
It added a little bit of length. I like this one because it eliminates a fail point. So, like, with that adapter, the adapters can sometimes come loose, just, you know, from normal wear. This, you can eliminate that fail point, and you don't have to worry about it backing out or anything. And it's just a nice, good, solid piece. So I really like the Brownells lower. If you were thinking about getting a Gen 3 upper, I would highly recommend just going ahead and getting the Gen 3 lower receiver. I think that
because it's made for it.
It's made for it, and I think it's worth the investment in terms of, you know, having that one less failure point here on the back, and it has a really good ambi system. Now, like I had mentioned, the bolt release here is strictly a bolt release. It is not a bolt catch, but, you know, I don't think that's that big of a deal in terms of, like, the overall grand scheme of things.
Yeah, and if you're thinking of, like, getting one of these and putting it on Gen 2, like we have down here, the dust cover will get in the way of the bolt release. But that's because this lower is meant for the Gen 3. So if you have a Gen 2 and you got the dust cover down, you have to kind of dodge it to hit the release. But that's, I guess, neither here nor there, but just something to consider if you're looking at grabbing one of the Gen 2s on sale and then
getting one of these lowers.
Yeah.
So Sparky, what do you think of this as a whole? Like the upper and lower combo, do you think they improved upon the Gen 2? Do you think it's still worth a buy? And then I know you're a whore for a clone, but it's kind of diverged.
It kind of like, I think I made this comment, we talked about it last week, was like, okay, well, they changed a lot of things about it that were why you bought the BRN Gen 2 to begin with.
Yeah.
Like if you just wanted the AR-18 like look, get the Gen 2. But if you want the performance features, maybe slightly easier controls, like the non-reciprocating charge handle, all that kind of stuff, it did fix some issues. It's more of a closed system, which is nice. The gasket, I think, you know, it is a nice touch, because I think if you just had a simple like slot, this is an improvement on that. So I think, all in all, I think it's a good system. I think it's, you know, obviously the lower is made for the Gen 3, so everything works exactly how it's supposed to.
So let's really make this difficult. This setup's $1,700, give or take. Right?
Yeah, give or take. Counting stock.
Sig Spear LT.
Oh, this all day, every day. But I don't ever go any farther. Like,
no.
So my thing with the Spear is it was kind of the bulky side.
That's very true.
Do we have it over here?
Yeah. Go get it. Run.
I'm back like I never left. Okay. So this compared to the Spear, I'd take the BRN Gen 3.
All day, every day?
All day, every day. I'm just not the biggest fan of how...
Ignore the muzzle device. We kind of screwed that up.
I don't know who did that. But yeah, I don't know. I just...
But I mean, they're at the same price point.
They are.
And for something you don't have to build out.
So that is a plus. They don't have to build it out. I think this without actually putting this on the scale, this feels lighter.
Yeah.
It feels better balanced.
The handguard's smaller.
Handguard's smaller. I think one reason why it feels better balanced is this, you got your metal stock compared to this guy. So that's going to, you know, the balance of it, that's going to throw it off a little bit.
But one of the benefits to this over this one is, you know, you do have a typical charging system.
AR-ish.
Yeah, AR charging system using an AR-15 charging.
I was just never the biggest fan of the rail.
It's
not saying it's not a bad. I'm not saying it's a bad rail. I'm just saying it's just a lot.
It's big. Here, let's hold it. You know, it does seem to be a little bit taller. Not, I don't know about a lot taller.
It feels bigger in the hand, which I don't know.
How much you feeling in the hand, Sparky?
I don't know. Depends.
So
pre.
You're saying BRN-180 over the Spear?
I think so. I mean, but what about the Spear makes you want it over that?
I don't think I'm definitely choosing the Spear. I think the BRN-180 lends itself to being more similar to your everyday AR-15 in terms of the feel of it. You're right that the Spear does feel a little bit larger,
well, the whole
a little bit
upper
bulkier.
is just bigger.
Yeah. In terms of, you know, long-term reliability, I don't see the gasket holding. Now, I have no basis on this, but I don't see the gasket holding up, whereas the Spear doesn't have a gasket. And the only reason we're comparing it to the Spear right now is because of the price point that it sits at. You're sitting at that upper end where the Spear usually sits, and it's just something to consider. This is a very well-made and very well put together AR, well, I don't want to call it an AR, but you know, an AR style upper, similar to how the Spear is. And I think it's worth a comparison and worth a consideration that when you're looking at both of these, to maybe look at one or the other. I think it's worth the talk.
I would probably lean towards Gen 3.
Yeah. And that's perfectly fine. There's a lot of reasons to lean towards the Gen 3. We'll leave it up to you to decide what you ultimately want to go with, but like I said, I really like the BRN-180 Gen 3. They improved a lot upon their Gen 2 version, closing up the system, improving the non-reciprocating charging handle, improving the gas system, the rail system. I mean, they really you know, cut out all the stops and really made a very well-built AR-180 Gen 3 upper receiver, wouldn't you have to say, Sparky?
Yeah, I've been nothing but impressed with it, and continue will be.
Only thing I'd recommend is I wouldn't get the pin and welded upper. Don't be like Elliott. Be smart.
Unless you just want to be a touch shorter, then go for it.
Yeah, and I think the PWS brake will work on some suppressors. Check with Brownells to make sure of that. We don't have any suppressors or type of mounting systems.
TPI?
Yeah, I'm not sure what it was. Really want to run this thing suppressed. This is one of the reasons why a lot of people, you know, like this, and it's supposed to be very well done for suppressed shooting. And I can't run it.
Now you got to buy a different suppressor.
I know. I was like, I got this in and I was so disappointed. I was like, no, it's pitted welded. All right, neither here nor there. So a big thank you to Brownells for sending out. It has been an absolute blast to shoot. We had a good time with it, and I think, you know, this will be a mainstay.
It's definitely going to be on rotation pretty soon.
Yeah, something to compare a lot of stuff to. So big thank you to you guys as well. Make sure to hit the like and subscribe button. Go comment down below what you think of the BRN Gen 3. And we'll see you guys on the next one. As always, take some outdoors. Peace.
Bye, Mom. How it's going to, like, looks like a lower set of lips.
I dare you to fucking say that. I dare you to fucking say that in the video.